Hi guys, welcome to Paradox of Losing Cycle channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the illusion of control in gambling. Um, this is based on my own experience. When I spend time in gambling, um, basically these traits, I have recognized them on myself that I would like to share them with you. And it's more of a psychological traits that you develop during gambling. And it would be interesting for you guys to understand exactly what's going on so you can identify these risks as they come along for you to control them. So let's get to it. The illusion of control in gambling is pretty much it can lead individuals to engage in excessive or risky gambling behavior as they mistakenly believe that they have more control over outcomes than they actually do. Now, this illusion can contribute to the development and maintenance of gambling problems and addiction over long term. So, it's important to understand these traits. Number one, the illusion of skills. So the illusion of skills is like, the gambler usually believe that, that he got a skill or a strategy in place or some kind of knowledge of the game that can tilt the odds, to his favor, leading to a greater chance of winning. So, for example, a poker player might believe that, their ability to read an opponent's body language gives them an edge. Okay, so and then therefore he goes into understanding the psychology, reading books, buying books from Amazon, or about how to read the psychology of of the poker player so that he can win over them. And then he end up spending a lot of time, spending a lot of efforts and money in order to develop the skill. Okay, so even though the outcome of each hand is pretty much determined by chance. I mean, regardless of your ability to read or not, at the end, it's a game of chance. So it's an illusion that that you carry a skill. Another example is a blackjack player might believe that card counting could give them a an edge to bet high when the count is favorable. Now, this has been pretty much hyped over the years by a book, by Edwin Thorpe, that when he said that he wrote a book about how to count cards and how he made millions. Well, nobody really witnessed how he made the money and how effective is the card counting. Even though mathematically it could make sense that you could card count, but the outcome, as any game of chance, is pretty much is driven by probability, and the odds are basically stacked up against the player and in the favor of the house. So regardless, if you have any type of card counting skill, it will not tilt the favor to you at all. It might one time by accident or by chance, or it could be like a few times because I tried card counting. Yeah, it did help in some incidences, but in most of the time, really, it didn't help at all. So we'll get to this point later on. There is another point to this about that that you link some kind of winning to some kind of skill, and then but you totally forget about your losses. So we'll get to that point later. Another example is slot machine players might believe that alternating with small and large bets, could lead them to to buy some more time to win the jackpot. So these are called the illusion of skills that you need to be aware of. That whenever you develop an illusion of skill, you really have to take control of yourself and and avoid believing that these skills actually can result into profit. Okay, So let's get to the next point. It's called the selective memory. In selective memory, gambler may selectively remember instances when they experienced wins due to their perceived control or skill. Now, this is when, let's say you know, you gambled for a while and then you cut off from the gambling, but and then somehow you recall some moments that you gamble and you specifically recall the instances, that you won, and you've totally forgot or you forget about the instances that you continuously lost. Now, this is called a selective memory. So you totally forget about and as well, you downplay your losses. Okay, despite that this that losing streak happened quite aggressively, and you totally forget about or forget about these losses or losing streaks, and you selectively remember those instances that you won. And then you drill down into it to understand exactly how you won it and how you can create a system around it and how you can repeat the same process so that you can win again. So, this selective memory reinforces the illusion of control by focusing on positive outcomes. Okay. The third point is called the illusion of patterns. Now, specifically in roulette and as well as in baccarat games, this is pretty common, to have an illusion of patterns. And there are many videos. There are, uh, you know, they call or they claim themselves gurus, and they call themselves like the king of baccarat, or they got the best strategy out there to win the game of baccarat through identifying patterns. So in this situation, gambler may perceive patterns or trends in a random sequences of events such as card shuffling or slot machine spins. It could be any other, like in a roulette. You can try to count, number of reds followed by a number of uh, black, or different patterns that you could credit the patterns because of repetition of certain events. In baccarat, you got the banker and the player. You got some streaks, or some, let's say, the twos coming together, and then you might say, okay, if the two comes in, then it's going to continue the twos. If the three comes in, there are more often three came in, like banker, 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 player, player, player. You're going to assume that this trend is going to continue. And sometimes you say, okay, there are patterns, they tokens such as neutral, neutral meaning that there is a banker, banker, player, banker, banker, and then you might want to go for similar pattern again. So it's more of an illusion of a pattern, basically. Okay, so um, in the pattern illusion, a gambler predict that he can actually influence the future outcomes based on these perceived patterns, even though each event is independent and random, 100%. So, so that's called illusion of pattern. Next point is overestimation of abilities. Now, in this situation, individual may overestimate their ability to control the outcome of gambling, leading to a false sense of confidence and an increased willingness to take risk. This happens when, let's say, you've been gambling for a while, and then you've been on a losing streak, and then suddenly you get a spike of win, and then you get some kind of relief from as a result of the spike, and then suddenly you have this overconfidence that you can repeat the whole thing again and get the same spike of win again. So basically, it's just overestimating your ability. Um, uh, you know, as a result of this spike. Now, this spike could be, completely random. It could basically ruin you, or it could, it could lead you to a big win. So, because, sometimes if you win, you think that it's because of some kind of ability that you had, or some kind of system that you had, or some kind of skill that you had that resulted into this, um, a big win. or big spike or big gain that you're sitting on. So this overestimation can be fueled by previous successes or social reinforcement from peers who share similar beliefs. That people can push you can might some people will basically sold you a system, or friend of you would say that, well, I tried this system and it worked great, it just resulted in, so why don't you try it, and then you try it, and you know so basically it kind of like make you believe that that it can create some sort of ability for you to win. Okay. The other one is called personalization of outcomes. So here, a gambler often personalizes the outcome, attributing wins to their own actions or decisions while attributing losses to the external factors. So basically, when you lose, you might think they say, like, "Oh, the house is rigged, or the deck is rigged, or the market is rigged." So, and when you win, you say, "Hey, it's because of me, because of my ability, and because of my um, charisma or whatever that you want to link the outcome." So you personalize the outcome, discriminating wins from losses. Now this attribution bias reinforces the belief in personal control over gambling outcomes. So that's it, guys. So these are the characteristics of the illusion of control. I hope you like this video. And this is to help you guys to identify these characteristics so that you don't fall into these traps. Okay. And I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to our channel and press the like button if you really like this video. And we'll see you guys in our next videos. Cheers.